We used AI to generate two experts with different opinions. We're talking about superstition. Is Friday the 13th really the most unlucky day?
Bad things always seem to happen on Friday the 13th. That can't be a coincidence.
You're just finding meaning where there is none. Bad things happen all the time. We just notice it more on that day.
Keep listening. This talk might change how you think about fear, luck, and the way we give meaning to numbers. If Friday the 13th is just a modern scary idea, why do so many old stories seem to fear the same thing? Let's look at where this fear started.
This fear didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been in our stories for a long time. Take the Last Supper. There were 13 people there, and then Jesus was killed the next day. On a Friday. That can't be just a coincidence. And then there's the Knights Templar. They were arrested and killed on Friday the 13th in 1307. These aren't random stories. These are patterns. When the same date keeps showing up with bad events, it doesn't feel like just bad luck. It feels connected.
You call it a pattern, but it's more like we're picking certain stories and ignoring the rest. Sure, Jesus died on a Friday, but lots of other bad things happened on other days. Why don't we fear Monday the 8th or Wednesday the 22nd? Because no one told scary stories about those days. As for the Templars, that event wasn't a curse, it was politics. The king picked that day to act. We remember Friday the 13th because it sounds creepy, not because the day itself is cursed.
You really think it's all just made up? That people just connected random events? Then what about Norse mythology? Loki shows up uninvited to a dinner of 12 gods, making 13 people total, and everything goes bad. Someone dies and darkness follows. Totally different place, totally different people. Yet 13 brings bad luck there too. That's not just a coincidence. When different cultures keep reacting the same way to the same number, maybe there's more to it.
Or maybe we just like finding meaning where there isn't any. The number 12 feels complete. 12 months, 12 zodiac signs, 12 hours. So 13 feels off. It messes up the perfect number. And Fridays. Back then, they were already seen as unlucky for religious reasons. Put the two together and people made up stories to explain that bad feeling. But really, it's not about magic. It's about how humans like things to make sense. We get nervous when they don't.
Maybe. But that only shows how deeply it affects us. If people have been scared of the number 13 for generations, that feeling becomes part of us. Every hotel that skips the 13th floor, every plane that skips row 13, it all adds up. Those old stories, Jesus, the Templars, the gods, turned into symbols. And symbols guide what we do. This isn't just a made-up fear. It's become part of our culture.
Now we're getting to the real truth. These fears, they come from us. They're not warnings from the universe. They're ideas we passed down, the stories of unlucky dinners and doomed nights. They stuck with us because they gave shape to one simple fear of the unknown. 13 doesn't feel right because it breaks the order. Friday feels serious and final. Together they don't feel safe, and we turned that feeling into a myth.
So you're saying this is all really about us not liking surprises? That kind of makes sense. And honestly, that makes it even more spooky. If Friday the 13th is just our way of dealing with things we can't control, then maybe the real curse isn't the day. It's how we handle fear. No wonder we made up these stories. It's easier to blame a day than admit we're scared of chaos.
Exactly. The fear didn't come from the calendar, it came from people. We built this legend ourselves, the real source, our struggle to accept that not everything goes the way we want it to.
So if Friday the 13th was shaped by stories, then what happens when belief becomes stronger than truth? Let's keep looking. You might be surprised by what the numbers say. Do numbers really control our lives, or are we just seeing patterns where there aren't any? Let's see what science says.
If this is just a silly story, then why do so many reports show more car accidents, more people going to the hospital, and more insurance claims on Friday the 13th? This isn't just talk. There's real data. You can say it's just coincidence, but when it keeps happening, maybe there's something to it. Numbers don't lie. People act differently that day. Some businesses say they get less work done, and fewer people book flights. Doesn't that mean something real is going on?
Something is happening, but maybe not what you think. You're mixing up two things. Just because two things happen together doesn't mean one causes the other. Some good studies show the opposite. Fewer accidents on Friday the 13th. That's probably because people are more careful. They're more nervous, so they drive slow and pay attention. What you're seeing isn't bad luck. It's how fear works. People expect trouble, so they act differently. But sometimes, that fear actually helps keep them safe. Or they act weird because of it and make mistakes.
But if being scared made people safer, we'd see less risk in everything. And that's not what's happening. Some reports show more people going to the emergency room, more stress, and people getting less work done. Can we really say all that doesn't matter? Fear itself becomes part of the problem. When people are really nervous, their bodies react. Their hearts beat faster, they lose focus, and still get into accidents. Being scared doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it makes things worse.
Exactly, and that proves the point. It's not the day that's dangerous, it's how people feel. When we look closely at the data, we don't see proof that Friday the 13th is cursed. We just see how easy it is for the mind to believe a story. Have you ever heard of the Baader-Meinhof effect? It's when you notice something more after hearing about it once. That's what happens on Friday the 13th. You expect bad things, and suddenly everything feels like a sign. Like hearing your name in a noisy place. Your brain picks it out. That's fear working, not magic.
So it becomes real just because we believe it? That's kind of scary on its own. It means we're not just scared, we're causing it. Think about it. We made one day seem so unlucky that we now act strange on it, and that brings actual problems. That's not just a myth anymore. It's something we created together, like a mental trick. Kind of like taking sugar pills and feeling better, but in reverse. People skip work, don't fly, and mess things up because they already expect something bad.
Now you're starting to see. The real power of Friday the 13th isn't in the number. It's in what we believe and how we act. The day itself doesn't do anything. It reflects what's already inside us. Fear changes how we see the world. It messes with how our bodies feel. It twists our memories. So when people say the data proves the day is bad, they might just be seeing the fear people feel, not real danger from the day itself. It's not about luck. It's about how belief takes over our thinking.
That feels familiar. Like when people blame weird things on full moons or say Mercury is in retrograde. Even if stars or numbers don't really do anything, if enough people act like they do, our world shifts a bit. Which makes me think, maybe the problem isn't the superstitions. Maybe it's how fast we believe them. Maybe Friday the 13th isn't unlucky. Maybe it just shows how easily we all get pulled in.
Exactly. In that way, Friday the 13th is like a test. People project their fears onto the date, then wait for something to go wrong. And for some, nothing happens. For others, even small things, a coffee spill or a stubbed toe, feel like proof of the curse. Not because it's real, but because our brains connect dots that don't go together. And the strange part? Every new spooky story makes the myth stronger. People get more nervous, more cautious, and that makes them more open to mistakes. So the truth is, we're not just unlucky. We play a big role in making our own bad luck.
So the real question isn't, is this day cursed? It's, how much of our world are we shaping without noticing it? Because if belief alone can change how people act and even hit the economy, what else are we doing without realizing it?
And that's the real mystery. Not whether Friday the 13th is cursed, but whether we've cursed ourselves by believing it. But things get really interesting when a shared fear becomes too big to ignore. Fear doesn't just warn us. Sometimes it takes over. But what if being scared is actually more harmful than the thing we're scared of?
Here's what I keep thinking about. If fear is supposed to keep us safe, why does it freeze us instead? People don't run from danger. They just stop. They don't fix problems. They overthink. Isn't that backwards? On Friday the 13th, people skip trips, cancel plans, and stay home. Not because something bad happened, but just in case it might. It's like we're scared of being scared. Is that just bad luck or something built into us?
That's not a mistake. It's how we're made. Fear isn't meant to make us smart. It helps us stay alive. Imagine long ago someone hears a noise in the bushes. One person runs, the other waits, tries to think, then gets eaten. The careful ones survived. That's why fear still hangs around. On Friday the 13th, the fear gets stronger because we've been taught it's a scary day. Our brains act like something bad is coming, even when it's not. It's not that we're weak. It's how the brain works to protect us even if it's not always right.
But here's when fear gets tricky. It starts to change how things turn out. People drive like something will go wrong, expect to mess up at work, or feel like something bad is about to happen. It's not lions or danger anymore. It's fear of messing up a meeting, breaking up, or blaming the day if something small goes wrong. It's like we cause the bad stuff just by expecting it.
Exactly, and that's the scary part. The placebo effect shows how strong our thoughts are. Fear makes stress chemicals in the body, changes how we act, how we talk, even makes our immune system weaker. On Friday the 13th, people think the day is unlucky, so they see normal things as scary and small problems as huge. It's not magic, it's how fear changes what we notice and how we think. Fear doesn't cause bad luck, it just pushes us to make choices that lead to it.
And it's not just on that day. Think about this. Fear controls little things too. People ignore messages instead of replying. They skip chances to do something in case they fail. They avoid elevators or airplanes, or even working out, because they're scared. Friday the 13th just gives people an excuse to blame the fear on something else. But really, that fear's always been inside us, just waiting for a reason to come out.
Totally. Friday the 13th doesn't make fear, it just shows it, like steam escaping from a pot. That nervous feeling before sending a message, that pause before doing something new, all of that is fear pretending to be logic. And on a day we call unlucky, we finally notice how much fear is driving us. But here's the real twist. The day isn't the problem. It's the stories we believe. Those stories quietly control our choices.
So the real danger isn't Friday the 13th. It's all the thoughts we've had over and over, so much that they start writing our life for us. That's why people say, "I knew this would go wrong." They're not predicting. It's more like they've memorized a bad ending and are just playing it out.
Right. Fear writes the story, unless we change it. To stop the cycle, you don't need to stop feeling scared. You need to figure out which fears are real and which ones are fake. Most people can't tell the difference. They think because fear feels strong, it must be true. But a lot of the time, fear is just pretending to help while it actually keeps us stuck.
That changes everything. So maybe the biggest superstition isn't about black cats or shattered mirrors. Maybe it's that we believe fear too easily.
Think about that, because what comes next might show how fear turns from feeling into fact. People say Friday the 13th is bad luck, but in other places, other days are feared too. Why do different places believe in different unlucky days?
Exactly. People in Italy are scared of Friday the 17th, and in Spain it's Tuesday the 13th. That shows the fear is real, but every culture shows it in its own way. Like how countries have different food or languages, they also have different ways of showing fear. The feeling, worry, fear, or being careful, is the same. Superstitions aren't just nonsense, they're part of culture. Every culture has something like, "Don't walk under ladders." It happens again and again, and that means something. It's not random. It shows something deeper that all humans share.
Or maybe people just like making up stories. You talk about energy, but I think it's just fear learned from your culture. Think about it. If bad luck depends on where you are and which calendar you use, how can it be real? A cursed day that only counts in one country? That's not magic, that's good storytelling. Friday the 13th in America, Friday the 17th in Italy, the only thing they share is people blaming random bad things on those days. It's not real energy, it's just a story people tell.
But look at the pattern. Why do these types of beliefs even happen in so many places? Superstition sticks around because it gives people a way to understand fear. Cultures don't just pick numbers for no reason, there's meaning. In Italy, 17 in Roman numbers looks like vixi, which in Latin means "I have lived," a nice way of saying someone is dead. That's not random, that's fear hidden in symbols. All over the world, people link certain numbers or days with danger or death. The exact day changes, but the fear is always there. That fear is the real pattern.
You're just making it sound deep. But just because something feels meaningful doesn't make it true. Humans are wired to find patterns. We see faces in clouds and believe torn bus tickets are signs. It's easier to blame a bad Tuesday than accept that bad things just happen. And your Italy example. If someone grew up in a village and never learned about 17 being bad, would they be scared of it? Probably not. That proves the fear isn't built in. It's taught. The story causes the fear, not the number.
Okay, but nobody grows up with no culture. From the moment we're born, we learn from others. How to speak, what to believe, what to fear. The number might change, but the feelings don't. Some days just feel heavier. Some numbers feel unlucky. Sometimes we're nervous and we don't know why. That's how deep symbols work. They're not about logic, they're about instinct. So when a whole country avoids a certain date, like Tuesday the 13th or Friday the 17th, it means that symbol has soaked into how people feel. Even if your brain says it's silly, your body still gets nervous.
But if this fear is really something everyone's born with, why is it different in every country? Why isn't the same day scary for everyone? You're acting like it's all emotion and no structure. But actually, the reason these fears spread is because of things like religion, calendars, and media. Imagine Netflix made a scary show about Wednesday the 14th. People might start fearing that day too. The truth is, we pick a date, and then we fill it with meaning. The fear isn't ancient truth. It's mostly made up and passed on.
Yeah, but even if the fear is passed on, it still feels real to people. That doesn't make it fake. When a whole culture starts avoiding certain dates, it actually affects how people act. Like not flying, canceling events, avoiding weddings. That's the part people forget. These fears, even though they started as ideas, turn into real choices. The exact dates may be different in every country, but the result's the same. People feel fear. They act on it, and life changes. If enough people believe something, it starts to matter, even if it came from a story.
And that's why we have to think carefully about it. When big groups of people act on shared fears, we might let superstitions control us. It's not that fear shows the truth. Sometimes fear just distracts us from it. Avoiding a flight on the 13th doesn't mean the date is cursed. It means belief is strong. But strong belief isn't proof. It's just habit. And once fear becomes a habit, it's hard to let go. So yeah, the fear might feel personal. But you should ask, did I choose this fear? Or did it come from someone else?
The date might change depending on where you live, but the feeling of fear is the same everywhere. So next time a day feels unlucky, ask yourself, is this really your fear, or did someone give it to you? And just when you think it's all in your head, what if the fear is the very thing that gives it power? We stay away from the number 13 in hotels, on planes, and even in conversations, like it's something powerful. But maybe the real question isn't why we're scared of 13. It's why we gave it meaning to begin with.
Isn't it obvious? We don't just fear 13. We act like it's dangerous. Some buildings skip the 13th floor. Some airplanes don't have a seat 13. Some hospitals leave out room 13. That's not random. It's a full system of avoidance. People wouldn't do that unless they felt something deeper. Maybe it's the energy or the feeling behind the number. In a world where we care about patterns and numbers, 13 stands out. If so many people avoid it, maybe that alone means something.
Or maybe it's just a big group fear that got out of hand. Just a symbol. 13 is only bad luck because people say it is. When something bad happens on the 13th, they blame the number. But if tomorrow everyone said number 8 was unlucky, we'd start seeing signs of that too. It's not magic. It's in our heads. We keep hearing the same story again and again. Skip a seat, skip a floor, skip a room, all because of a number someone once said was unlucky.
But maybe there's a reason these fears stay around. Some things just feel like they mean more. Like 12 often feels complete. 12 months, 12 zodiac signs, 12 apostles. So 13 feels like it's breaking the pattern, like it doesn't belong, like someone showing up uninvited and ruining a party. People say we made all of this up. but symbols stick around because they hit a nerve. They speak to something inside us.
I'm not saying the culture isn't strong. I'm saying it's human-made. You just said it. We made these ideas. That doesn't make them magic. It makes them stories passed down over time. Superstitions, myths, old beliefs. They're just tales people shared, not facts from the universe. Friday the 13th guest at dinner, spooky cards and tarot decks, they're just dramatic. We still talk about them today because they're fun or scary, not because they're true.
Still, fear changes what we do. That gives symbols real power. If lots of people believe a number is unlucky and change their behavior because of it, that's something. That's not magic tricks. It's focused belief. If people avoid surgery, change travel plans, or don't book the 13th room, those are real actions. Even if we created the fear, it starts to work like real power, like a magnet made from millions of worried thoughts. Call it superstition, but it still shapes how we live.
So you're saying if enough people believe something fake, it turns real. That's risky. It's one thing to skip a hotel room just for fun, but giving a number power over your life? That's not fate. That's just us falling for a story. Believing 13 is cursed doesn't mean it actually is. It just shows how easily we listen to old ideas. The real danger isn't in the number. It's in letting made-up fears control us. That's not magic. That's just the mind.
But where's the line between made up and real? If enough people avoid job interviews or cancel surgeries on the 13th, those choices shape what happens next. Whole lives can change. That kind of behavior can become part of culture. We've taken one number and made it mean something big in our buildings, calendars, and habits. That's not a small thing. That becomes part of how we live, like a belief built into the system. Even if 13 didn't deserve it, we gave it weight by treating it like it matters.
But some cultures see 13 as lucky or spiritual. In ancient Egypt, it meant a new start. In some belief systems, it's about rebirth and powerful female energy. That shows the fear isn't natural. It's something we learn. If some people fear 13 and others love it, then the number isn't the problem. Our stories are, and maybe the real problem is mixing up feelings with facts.
We fear a number, then build our systems to stay away from it, changing how we design buildings and live our lives. But maybe what we're really scared of isn't 13. Maybe it's the idea that things aren't always in order. Maybe it's the fear of things going off script, hiding behind a number. If Friday the 13th is just a silly belief, then why do so many people have strange stories about it? Let's see what happens when bad luck hits home.
You can talk about studies and facts all day, but you can't ignore people's real experiences. I've heard too many stories, real people, real things happening, where Friday the 13th seemed to bring bad luck. Can we really say they're all making it up? A friend of mine crashed his car on a Friday the 13th. When the tow truck guys showed up, he said, "You're the third one today." That's not random, that's a pattern.
This is how our brains work. We remember the strange or scary stories and forget the normal ones. I had a friend who had her first baby on a Friday the 13th. It was the best day of her life. But no one makes scary stories about days like that. We remember what stands out, not what's normal.
So, are you saying people just imagine the bad stuff happening because of the date? That sounds unfair. I know a guy who lost his job, his dog ran away, and his basement flooded, all on one Friday the 13th. He didn't believe in any superstitions until that day. Do you think he just made up a flood? When bad things pile up like that, people get scared for a reason, and maybe they're right to be.
No, I'm not saying they made it up. I'm saying we don't notice the date until after bad things happen. If the same stuff happened on the 12th, no one would think twice. But once it's the 13th, suddenly it means something. That's how our minds try to make sense of things. It's not about what really happened. It's about the story we tell ourselves afterward.
But there are way too many stories. I saw a post online with hundreds of people commenting about the strange things that happened to them on Friday the 13th. Things falling off shelves, people getting dumped, or even fired out of the blue. Are we going to say all of them imagined it? Or maybe there's something else going on, something we don't understand.
Maybe it just spreads like a feeling, like how laughter spreads. You hear someone laugh and you start laughing too. Fear works the same way. So does a good story. When someone shares a bad luck tale on Friday the 13th, others join in. Not always because it happened the same way, but because it makes us feel less alone. It's a way to connect. You don't need magic, just people looking to make sense of tough times.
Even if that's true, you have to admit, these dates can start to feel heavy. If someone loses something or someone important twice on the same day, that sticks. And the worst part is when no one takes it seriously. That pain? It's real. It doesn't care if there's a reason or not. For them, it feels like a curse. When pain repeats, it feels like you're stuck in a trap.
Exactly. Fear makes us see patterns, even when they're not real. But the scarier truth is, it's not the date doing it. It's the feelings we've carried for too long. We don't really fear the number. We fear that life can go wrong for no reason. Saying it's a curse makes things easier to accept. It gives the pain a name, but really, life is just full of surprises and not all of them are good.
That might be why people hold on to these stories. It gives them something to hold when everything else feels shaky. If someone says, everything changed on a Friday the 13th, they're not just scared. They're trying to make sense of pain. They believe the day matters because it helped explain something they didn't understand.
Sure, symbols are powerful. They help us feel like our feelings matter. But we have to remember, just because a story helps us heal doesn't mean the curse is real. What's real is the pain. And the brain will grab onto whatever it can, like a date on a calendar, to make it all make sense. But understanding that helps us move forward, not stay stuck.
So maybe the question isn't, is Friday the 13th cursed? Maybe the real question is, what are we so afraid of that we want to believe it's cursed? Because once you start thinking about that, a lot of other fears show up too.
And just when you think you've figured it all out, what if it's our shared fear that actually makes Friday the 13th feel real? What if Friday the 13th isn't unlucky because of old stories or myths, but because we make it that way ourselves? Is it possible we're causing our own bad luck?
Let's ask the question no one wants to say out loud. What if Friday the 13th really is dangerous, not because of black cats or old legends, but because of how much fear and attention we give it? Every tweet, every news article, every time someone feels nervous about the date, it's like we're adding power to it. If millions of people feel scared at the same time, maybe that fear changes how the world works.
That's an interesting idea, but it sounds like we're just seeing our own fear in the world. Just because we think about something a lot doesn't make it real. What really happens is, we notice weird things more on Friday the 13th because we expect them. Our brain plays tricks on us. This is called the frequency illusion, when we think something happens more often only because we're paying more attention. It's not bad luck, it's just how our minds work.
But what if how we feel shapes what really happens? Think about people at a big football game. If everyone gets excited or scared, the crowd behaves wildly. That's real. If everyone worries about Friday the 13th, maybe their fear changes how they act, makes people nervous, causes mistakes, even leads to real accidents. If that happens enough, maybe this bad luck isn't random. It's caused by shared fear.
Now you're saying thoughts have real power. But most people go through Friday the 13th without anything bad happening. Lots of people don't even know what day it is. The truth is, we talk a lot more about strange or sad events, especially online, and we forget all the boring normal stuff. If no one pointed out the date, most people wouldn't even notice it.
But people do notice, even if they don't say it out loud. Look at how many hotels skip floor 13. Some tall buildings don't label the 13th floor. Some airlines don't have row 13. That's not just silly superstition. That's built into how things are made. Even logical people feel strange about the number 13. If we teach every generation that this day means bad things, then maybe they'll start acting like something bad will happen. And that makes it real.
So now buildings are the problem? That's giving bricks too much credit. This stuff stays around because people like patterns, even fake ones. Developers skip floor 13 not because it's cursed, but because they know people worry. They don't want to scare customers. It's just business. And the funny thing is, the more we try to avoid fear, the more we keep it alive. Then we wonder why people still believe in it.
But if fear changes how we behave, causes stress, makes us drive badly or pick safe choices, then hasn't it already done something real? Even if the fear comes from a made-up story, it's still strong. It can change how we act. It doesn't matter if it's real in the magical sense. It still changes real life. So Friday the 13th can be dangerous, not because it always was, but because we made it that way.
Or maybe the real problem is how much we love being afraid. We feed our fear every chance we get. We fill it into stories, news, social media, even our buildings and rules. And then we wonder why the world feels scary. Maybe Friday the 13th isn't a warning from the universe, it's just a reflection of us. It shows us how scared we really are.
So what you're saying is, maybe the scary part isn't Friday the 13th itself, but how little control we feel we have over life. And maybe that fear, the feeling that bad things will happen no matter what, is what gives the day its power.
What if superstition isn't just old nonsense, but something our brains use to stay alert in a messy, confusing world? Because coming up next, everything you think you know about luck might be wrong.